Talk with Tyson Bryden. Come on for the ride. We'll take you inside. Non-stop rock talk. It's non-stop rock talk with Tyson Bryden. Come on for the ride. We'll take you inside.
Welcome to Nonstop Rock Talk. As always, I am your host, Tyson Bryden. Today, it gives me great pleasure to welcome from the band, Posavant, Chris and Nick. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you guys doing?
Hey, we're doing great. Afternoon. Great to be on.
Awesome. So, before we talk about the latest release, which is, and I'm probably going to say this wrong again because I am the worst.
Yeah,
Hamartia.
Hamartia.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I must ask about the origins of the band. I mean, how it all came to be. I know it started around 2024. And how would you guys possibly term the music that you do?
Well, we've been together forever because we're brothers.
Yeah.
So our musical journey started since we were kids. And we've always loved rock music. And my dad was a big rock geek. He loved playing guitar. And he brought us into rock music since a very early age. So we started listening to classic rock. And we both had our instruments that we loved. He was a drummer and I played piano in the beginning. But, through our entire journey, we started to find our own musical tastes. We loved to listen to 90s music, even early 2000s music. And we also delved into a variety of different styles, such as cultural music and jazz music. So we started to develop our own identity. And we lived in China for 15, 17 years since we were kids.
Oh, wow.
And so it's a very interesting thing. We went on a lot of reality shows and we would do imitations of Elvis and Michael Jackson. And we went through different musical phases as well. We did rap music, we did dance music, we did punk rock, pop rock. So it's just the whole, Posavant is a band that basically came from all of our experiences and playing different kind of musical styles. And it just kind of morphed into one. And it's really a rock or a musical experience. So we just recently started it. Actually, we just released our first single this year, even though this Posavant's been around for about a year or so. And we wanted to develop a musical style that wasn't really, confined to one genre. So if you say what is actually Posavant's musical genre, we would say it's just a musical experience.
Cool.
So Hamartia is the first song we released, and this is actually a very good representation of what kind of sound we have. So if you listen to it, it's almost like a club song. It's it's got a 4-on-floor, it's got a really interesting bass lick. So it feels like a club song, but then you have some progressive influences in there. You got a lot of time changes. You got a really cool guitar solo in the middle of the song, and you got lush harmonies and vocals. So this is a really interesting song for people to hear, and that's why we wanted it to be our first song. We felt that was a great representation of our sound.
Well, yeah, and it's funny. I kind of analyzed this song before our interview and going over it, and I have a lot of questions about it, just about the song, because there is a lot to talk about. I'm going to be honest, because, I mean, sometimes a song is a song, but this is more than that. There's a lot of texture. There's a lot of things going on that I want to ask you guys about in terms of production wise and how you did certain things to achieve the sound that is within this song.
Yeah.
But sorry, go ahead.
Any questions you got? Go ahead.
Go for it.
Okay. But before we start with that, I appreciate that your motto in your bio is making real music, uncontaminated by digital altering.
Yes.
For you guys, does it take discipline from both of you to not just want to cut one corner with today's technology, or are you dead set that you guys are going to, this is the way we're doing it and that is it? Because I think in some ways it's easy to just want to say, you know what, we're going to double this vocal. We're just going to take the same vocal and we're just going to, you know what I mean? Production wise, because it is so much easier.
Yeah.
Yes. And one thing is that we've worked a lot in music production throughout the years. So we've had our phases of being tempted to utilize technology. Yeah. But now we've learned to use it in moderation. Like we're not so much purists in the idea where we would not cut anything, so to speak.
Right.
But we've developed a way to do it where it's completely natural. And that's something that really bugs me too, because a lot of my favorite bands and artists, their new records to me sound really digitized.
Yeah.
They don't sound live anymore like the early 90s or the early 80s records. And that's something that we really wanted to present throughout our music. So we try to do all of our vocal takes in one take. So we don't comp, and neither do we flex our guitar tracks. We don't edit them because we want to try to create a live feel. However, we are still using DAWs because obviously it's a budget thing that we don't have the luxury to record with tape, right, or like in a super expensive studio in Hollywood. Yeah. So we're doing everything ourselves, but with like, it's a healthy balance. That's what I would say, with technology, but also keeping the lively feel of a rock band.
Yeah. And I think when I read that going into listening to this song, I was intrigued because I'm like, okay, what's going to strike me? What's going to come out in this that I'm going to listen to and go, oh, wow. Because it shows that the time and effort that you've put into this song, into what you guys have done. Because, and like I said, I've got a lot of questions about it. And I'm for starters, I'm curious about the creation of this track in the studio. And like I said, there's a lot of instrumentation and there's layering, and it's brilliant, really. When creating music like this, do you guys bounce off of each other of, hey, you know what, we should try this and let's try this, and kind of the experimentation of you two working together?
So we have a really interesting process. So for the most part, Chris actually starts with like a song idea and he brings it to me, and then we kind of like listen to it together, and we think about ways we can bring it to life. Like, and sometimes it's maybe just a chorus, sometimes it's maybe a whole song, but oftentimes is that we would sit together, we would produce something that sounds like a pretty flexed out demo, but then we would start like thinking about different ways to change it. So we would kind of like remix it on the spot, so to speak. So like originally this song had a much more like rock, progressive rock kind of style, like almost like a Rush kind of thing.
Oh, cool.
But
okay.
Yeah, so it was more like a Tool, more of like a Rush thing. But then like we did different like variations of it. But then I came in and I thought that it would be really cool if this whole like first part of the song was like a 4-on-the-floor. It was just a bass riff, and it sounded like it was like a club song. So
we stripped down the production and made it more easier to catch on, so to speak.
Yeah, because it was a lot more complicated. We were trying to add all kinds of things into it. And then we always have this way of producing is that when we do something, we try to put as much as we can into it. But then afterwards, we would do like a strip down process. So we would make everything a lot simpler. And something, especially in the sense that something that's more likely to be played live. Because oftentimes you would have bands try to play things live that they clearly can't play because the production version of it is much more complicated. Right. So we always do like a simplified version, a stripped down version. And we kind of took things that we felt were too complicated or maybe took away the listener's attention. And we kept it to the main riff that you hear throughout the first half of the song. And then afterwards we said, okay, like at this point, you've heard enough of this. Then we can come in with the guitar solo, with the crazy guitar solo, with all the time changes that comes in the middle of the song. At least at this point, like you're not as confused as a listener. So we still want to keep some of that complications like going on, like complicated, like ear candy, so to speak.
Yeah.
But overall, we want the audience's like ears to be more focused on like a clear motif.
That's cool. Now, from a lyrical standpoint, and I actually looked up the meaning of Hamartia, which is cool. A literary term for a fatal flaw, error in judgment, or mistake that brings about the downfall of a tragic hero, which I thought was cool. And apparently this originates from Aristotle's Politics, which is dated so many, and the Greeks for to miss the mark or this inherent flaw.
Yeah.
So tell me about basing that within a song and writing lyrics to this, like, it's kind of an intelligent type of theme.
Yeah, so the whole, when we first wrote this song and we kind of like went through the process, we wanted the first song for the band Posavant to represent like a key philosophy of our band. And that's like, we think of the modern like music scene and we see a lot of people worshiping like their music idols, and they see them as almost godlike, you know, like a character in a Greek tragedy or something, somebody that appears to be perfect.
Yeah.
But almost in every single case, all these people have serious flaws that people overlook just because they love their music, and they think, you know, they were blessed with immense talent. But you know, everyone has their flaws, and it's becoming more and more apparent as a lot of these idols that we grew up listening to as they get older, like Chris just said, like almost every single band that's released a new song recently that was like an older band. Every single one of these, it sounds like it's extremely digitized. Everything is like way overproduced. And a lot of these people, they can't either they can't sing anymore, or they can't play guitar anymore, or they're just not as musically talented as they were before.
Right.
But every time you hear people talk about them, they're still like, oh, they're still amazing. This album's still amazing. This song is still amazing, when it clearly isn't anymore. And we're just lying to ourselves because these people are our heroes. They're our idols. And we don't want to admit that they've fallen off. So this song was meant to represent that. And the key word in this is that you weren't the God I made you, which is the motif of the lyric. And this line just represent that, you know, we've worshipped these people as well. But now that we've been in music for so long, we've produced music for so long, and we've seen so many talented people work in music, we're realizing that a lot of these like musical gods that we worship, they're actually just like us. In many cases, of people who work for them, like the engineers, the producers, the some oftentimes writers, as well as session that played their parts. A lot of these people are just as talented, if not more talented, than the people up in the screen that we worship. And we feel like this song we wanted to dedicate to all the people who work behind the scenes. And we're part of the project. We're part of the music that was released but didn't get enough credit. So that's why we wanted to write this song Hamartia.
That's so cool. Thank you. That was a great answer. It's funny that you talk about, you know, like older bands, and a lot of times I mean, that almost sounds like blowing smoke up someone's ass because of who they are. You know what I mean?
That's what it is. Yeah.
One of the only bands that is a hard rock band that I think had done a great album in the last few years was Extreme. Their last album was phenomenal, and Nuno can still play, and Gary Sharon can still sing. But you nailed that. That is so true. We praise these guys who, you know, have done great things, but you know what? And I accept the fact, you know what? You're not, sometimes that window of your creativity just is a short period of time, and you do some of your best work in that time. But then there's other bands that just seem to be able to do it forever. But I admire that you say that.
I think just, to me, it's also like appreciating the people behind the scenes, right? Because like when you think about like all the classic rock albums, like everybody knows the band members and the people who are the stars, so to speak, but nobody knows the producers. Nobody knows the engineers.
Like,
and
in my opinion, Eddie Kramer does not get enough credit for what he did. We all think of Bonham as the best rock drummer, but there were so many components that made his performance so much better, but we never, the audience doesn't know. Like there are people in the industry like us who have worked for music production. Like we know some of the people, but not all. So that's kind of what we're trying to bring awareness to the behind the scenes people.
Yeah, and it's also like a lot of times people get hate. Like when you think about like classic rock stories, like almost always there's like an executive that everybody hates, and there's always like some like suit guy that everyone that guy's an asshole or whatever. Like, but there are a lot of good people who work in music business and execs, the people who found these artists, you know, people who put their life on the line to bring awareness to a band, because it's tough work to bring up a band. And working in the industry as well, we see a lot of stories of like, especially right now, just nobody wants to take chances with new bands because there's so much things that could go wrong.
Yeah,
and the guy could get fired.
They have to put their career on the line for something that it's not definite that they're going to make it or become successful. And that's so admirable. And we see that a lot more back in the day than we do now.
Yeah, and these people never get the credit. All you hear is like that guy wasn't like a douche, you know, like this song's about him, you know, but a lot of times they put the work in as well and they don't get the credit. And only the artist gets the credit because they wrote the song or whatever.
Or they sang on it.
Yeah. That's sometimes they didn't even write it. Like in the case of a lot of 80s glam rock bands, you know, they didn't even write their own songs. So, but nobody cares, you know, they only care that they sang the song and they're the star.
Like I rarely hear people say Desmond Child wrote Living on a Prayer or You Give Love a Bad Name. We only hear Bon Jovi. Like we never really hear people say Desmond Child wrote like I Hate Myself for Loving You, but Joan Jett gets all the credit.
And that's always the case.
That's always the case. Yeah.
Right.
Almost though.
Because I mean, You Give Love a Bad Name was actually a chorus from another song by Bonnie Tyler. Yeah. Right.
Totally.
And he just brought it in and said, hey, we can use this chorus kind of thing. And I mean, it's amazing that you guys are talking about this stuff because I'm the type of guy who I want to know who produced the album. I want to know who the engineer is. Sometimes you even want to know who the second engineer is because all that work that goes into an album, you're right. It isn't just the artist and it isn't just the guy singing it. There's this, like you said, Desmond Child writing song, like being the songwriter. If Desmond Child never came along, we wouldn't be talking about Living on a Prayer and You Give Love a Bad Name.
Exactly.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of even like session musicians. I mean, in the 60s and 70s, a lot of these bands didn't even play their own instruments.
Like Lee Ritenour played the main solo on Another Brick in a Wall. Yeah. We would always it was Gilmore. We would never think Lee Ritenour did all the funky parts. Yeah. You know, and the same thing for, you know, like there's people who do get props for it, and I'm really happy for them. For people like, for example, like Steve Lukather or like the guys from Toto, they had some credit for some smashing hits. Yeah. But still, like I feel like there are a lot unsung heroes, so to speak, that are behind the scene.
Yeah, I mean Jack Douglas on Aerosmith on Get Your Wings brought in another guy to play a guitar solo, and it happened all the time. Kiss did it constantly.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much of it that people don't even realize. You know, that
especially when in a lot of records, not to name many people, but there are so many records that we know from working with industry producers where the producers had to go in afterward to fix everything that the artists recorded because they were so bad at what they did. And nobody ever hears about it because nobody wants to talk about it. But if you talk to all these producers, they'll know that there's a lot of work in fixing like the parts that are recorded, especially in the 2000s. Like there were certain records where like the drum part was literally just looped, was one part and edited and then looped.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but you know, nobody knows. In a lot of these cases, the drums were completely switched out, especially in thrash and metal records. A lot of times the early 2000s records you're hearing, all the drum parts were MIDI drums because the drummer couldn't play it. And nobody knows. And everybody thinks that this drummer that they're worshiping is some kind of god because they heard the records and this drumming is amazing. But it's actually some engineer that had to go in and had to program all the MIDI drums.
It's different live because you're playing to an audience that's predominantly drunk or high.
Yeah, you're right.
So like not a lot of people can hear the intricacies, but I can just speak for myself for like a few shows that I've been to, and I've been totally just disappointed because the performance wasn't there. And later on, as I learned more about production and I delved deep into this business, I started to notice that there are a lot of drummers out there who just used MIDI drums and programmed drums for records. They just don't come out and admit it publicly. Yeah.
I mean, there's a thing in the Metallica years and years ago when they're doing the Black Album, and the engineer says, this is what we do with Lars's drums, and he's got the tape and he's got the scissors out, and he's talking about how we, you know, and
it was a lot harder to do back then. So
it would be, right?
Yeah, credit to the engineers. Ever since Beat Detective and Pro Tools has been a lot easier, but back then it was a hassle to fix stuff like that.
That's crazy. That's crazy to me. You know, like
nobody talks about that. I mean, to be fair, Lars does get a lot of hate for not being a great drummer. But you know, to me, the magic of Lars was never the drumming; it was always the business mind.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people never talk about people like, for example, Gene Simmons from Kiss. A lot of other bands where the artists had a great business mind and they knew how to market a band. There's a reason why Metallica is so much more popular than any other metal band. And they've completely transcended the metal world.
Absolutely.
Like people from all walks listen to Metallica. And in all honesty, in my opinion, like Metallica's not as good as the other thrash bands, like the other big four thrash bands.
Yeah.
Slayer, Megadeth. I love those bands more than I like Metallica. But Lars Ulrich, he had the business mind to figure out things that the other bands they didn't know.
Well, they were too busy, you know, snorting stuff up their nose.
Yeah.
Lars had the business mind.
Yeah, he knew what he was doing. That's
Absolutely,
why
he did.
It didn't matter that he wasn't Dave Lombardo. It didn't matter that he wasn't
Nick Menza.
Exactly. It didn't matter that that Kirk Hammett wasn't Dave Mustaine, or it didn't matter at all because Lars had the business mind. So it's underrated.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that about the big four because I mean I am a Metallica fan and I've seen Metallica a ton of times, but I was gravitated more to Megadeth and Anthrax actually.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought Megadeth for one, just when Marty Friedman was in the band, about how great of a guitar player he was and how methodical he was in his playing. Mustaine, no discredit to Dave Mustaine either, but I think getting Marty Friedman and Nick Menza was such a smart move.
Yeah, well, the thing about Megadeth is, you know, like Mustaine could always find the greatest lead guitar players in the business. It wasn't just Marty; it was also Chris
Broderick.
Yeah.
Chris Broderick, Jeff Young. Yeah, you know, now Team sorry, they're all like incredible guitars. Yeah.
So that's part of the reason. I think if you're a guitar player, you're always going to love Megadeth more. It's just it's impossible not to.
For me, that's at least the case.
There's too much intricacies and like crazy stuff that happens in the guitar that you just don't hear in most other thrash bands, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen Marty Friedman, that lineup on the Euthanasia tour. And they were incredible. But I also saw Broderick with Megadeth as well. And he impressed me. Like it was insanely good.
The technicality of his playing is over the top.
Yeah.
It's funny that we're on Megadeth because like Chris Poland was a great influence on Chris as a guitar player.
Yeah.
If you listen to Hamartia. If you listen to Hamartia, you hear a lot of that like jazz fusion kind of stuff.
Stolen diminished licks.
Yeah, because we kind of avoid like a lot of other like rock guitar players. They'll have a lot of that classical music influence, like from like Yngwie, all those people, Ritchie Blackmore. But Chris does a lot more of the kind of jazz fusion stuff.
And that's actually, I was going to ask you about that because I did notice
into the next one.
Well, yeah, exactly. The later part of the solos got that jazz influence in it. And I was like, that is brilliant. Because at the beginning you play there's a really fast lick and then it goes into this next section, which I thought was amazing. I was like, as I was listening to it, I said to my wife, I said, check this out. There's like more of a jazz feel here, and this sounds incredible. So that was really well done.
Yeah, thank you so much. And one thing on that was from the production wise, like we wanted to go back to the early Van Halen and Pantera records, where when you get to the guitar solo section, like one of the rhythm guitars drops out.
Yeah.
So it's more like a live thing that's going on. So like in our case, we have two guitars. So like there's only one rhythm track while I'm playing the guitar solo, because we wanted to maintain that live feel and not have like the usually when you hear it, you'd have like a pan rhythm section, and then the third track becomes the guitar solo and comes in into the middle. And we felt like that just destroyed the illusion of a live band. So we wanted to maintain the idea that like this is just a live band performing this song. So in that section, we just took out one of the rhythm guitar tracks and just kept the guitar solo. And after that last note, when I was bending that last note, I just slid back and played the rhythm. So
Oh, that's cool.
Left, right.
Yeah.
So like there's a lot of
Seamless transition.
I
love that.
We like felt. Yeah.
Did you work that solo out?
There were so many variations. I usually like improvise certain licks, and then like after a few takes, we kind of find like what we like from like the first take, and then I do a whole take.
Yeah.
Because like I hate when guitar solos are pieced together.
Yeah,
I know that that's been the thing like since the late 70s and 80s. Like I've heard a lot of Van Halen's guitar solos were pieced together by the engineer, and the same thing with some of Alex Lifeson's stuff. But like for me, it always just felt more natural when you just play it like in one take. That's kind of why I like the live performances of those bands a lot more, because the solos, they eventually learned the solos and then they were just playing them as a whole, and it just felt a lot more natural like that way.
That's cool. Did you double? So it was double? Did you actually have to do it twice?
I think it's just one take.
Just one take.
Solo.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that about guitar players doing it in pieces. Sometimes, like I think there is a place for it. Sometimes is when sometimes they'll take a different tone or a different guitar halfway through the solo, and you're like to add a little bit more depth. But I always assume that a guy's going to play the whole solo all the way through. You know what I mean? But obviously that's
there's a benefit to it, because you know there's two types of guitar players. There's one type which is like the improvised kind of player.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to play it the same way every time, because you know they don't know how to play it the same way every time. They just got to play with the flow.
Learn their own lick.
And there's the other kind of guitar player that's like, I have to range this whole thing out before I even try my first take, you know. But I really feel like the best of both worlds is to actually play it a lot of times, and then have both the guitar player and an engineer or anybody else just listen to it and try to find the best parts of each improvised version, and then piece it together, and then you play it through. So that's where you get the best of both worlds. You get the improvised feeling, but you also get like the arrangement feeling.
And like even effects wise, like I just love it when you hear a guitar solo and you hear like the pickup switch, like when
I love
you
that.
play a switch to the next pickup. I don't like the idea of it being like separate takes, because there's a little bit of gap in it that makes it feel lively. You know, that makes it feel really cool. So like throughout this solo, like for some of the fast takes, you could hear like there's a slight delay because I'm switching between the neck pickups for like the faster stuff, and you know, for the more melodic bends. So to speak.
That's cool. Wow. Yeah. Now the drums, they sound huge. Like the drum tracks. Did you guys record multiple tracks of the drums to make them sound that big, or what was the whole process of recording the drums?
Okay, so there were various variations of this song. So the first version of this song was a live drum kit that I tracked by myself. And you know, when you're recording on a budget, like it's really hard to get the precise exact tones that you want. And it wasn't anything to do with the performance, so to speak. It was just we wanted to go for a certain sound that our engineer at the time wasn't able to achieve. So based on like my experience, because I do a lot of drum programming, like we programmed this song in the same like basically matching my performance from the previous version.
Oh, cool.
So like the drums, they feel really lively because they're not gridded like MIDI drum, like a robot. So like it speeds up and it slows down, it speeds up and it slows down. But like the tonal quality of the drum set was what I wanted to achieve. That's why the drums maybe would sound huge in a certain way because of how it's mixed. But the performance overall, it was me programming the drums.
Yeah. So basically it wasn't live drums.
Yeah.
It was programmed.
Yeah.
And it's almost impossible to tell because he's one of the best drum programmers ever in the world. So everything in it is as live as you can possibly get with programmed drums.
So like each note, the dynamics are completely different as if a real drummer was playing it. So like it's not usually when people program drums, especially in metal, it's just one velocity. So the entire song has the same velocity. And I don't like that because that to me sounds like an electronic drum set. I want to have the live thing captured inside. So like I was saying, it was the best of both worlds. We're utilizing technology because of the current situation that we're in. But eventually, if we do get the budget that we want to record an album, everything's going to be recorded live like we want it to be.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, that is a great segue into the next question. Is this song for an EP or an album forthcoming, or is that still in the works?
So we've already released another single. It's called Untrend, and you can find it on our Spotify page.
Okay.
And that is also a very interesting song. If you have the time, you can listen to it. It's completely different in this song. It's got a lot of like string stuff in it.
Cool.
And it's more of like it's got more of a punk rocky kind of style. But there's the underlying kind of thing that we were talking about, it being a musical experience. So it's still a very like interesting song to listen to. And we're also going to release another song like within the coming days. So we're just releasing singles right now. Eventually, we do want to release an album. But like Chris said, releasing an album takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of money, and you need to work on a good budget. And you also need to find a perfect engineer to work with you. And we haven't really found the perfect engineer yet. We've worked with great mixers. We worked with some of the best mixers in the industry. We worked with Sean Bevan. We worked with Matt Hyde. All these are great mixers, but we haven't found the right engineer yet. That's the tough one. We want to be able to get someone, and we want to be in a studio for like a month or so, just trying out different sounds and recording everything as we go, experimenting. And that's kind of what we want to do. So eventually we will release an album, but right now we're just releasing singles that we produced ourselves. And some of them we mixed ourselves. Some of them are mixed by people that we really, really respect. So,
okay, cool. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. And is there anything else you guys would like to add? Anything you guys would like to, promote to the people that may not, my fans that listen to the show and is just discovering you guys. So,
yeah, well, we just came back from a showcase in South by Southwest in Austin.
Cool.
It was our first time playing in Austin in front of a crowd. The crowd was a bit unorthodox, so to speak, because we were headlining a bill for a bunch of K-pop and J-pop groups.
Oh.
So they were a bit shocked to hear loud rock music, but they eventually warmed up to us. And it's just, you got to play on any stage they put you on. And we took that with a badge of honor to represent rock music that day. And we've got a few upcoming shows. We have an upcoming show in Los Angeles at the Smell Club on March 21st. So if any one of you are listening that are in LA, come see us play. You won't regret it. It's going to be a blast. And on top of that, just follow Posavant, P-O Savant, on all of our socials, such as Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We're constantly posting stuff, and we're going to be releasing music throughout this year.
Cool.
And hopefully get onto a tour as an opening act. So if anyone's out there looking for an opening act, Posavant's going to be your band.
Cool.
And feel free to reach out to us.
Awesome. I know I was going to let you go, but I'm curious about, was that your first time in Austin, Texas?
It was our first time. Yeah.
Yeah.
My first time as well as
Yeah.
Posavant's first time.
First time in Texas.
Yeah. Period.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Right on.
Definitely first time at South by Southwest. Yeah.
I was just watching a documentary on Austin City Limits that dated all the way back to like Willie Nelson being the first artist to ever play on Austin City Limits. I'm not a huge Willie Nelson fan, but I mean, I'm not a big country guy, so but
Got it.
but it was cool to watch, like kind of like there was some behind the scenes stuff and how this whole thing, dates back to the 70s, how it all came about, and they've just had like a mass amount of different artists on there. So it was kind of cool to watch. I didn't watch the whole thing. I just kind of started watching it, and then it got too late and I went to bed. But it was still, I'm always curious. I've never been to Austin, so I see.
It's a great city. It's changed a lot. Even though I've never been, I've kind of known that it's becoming like one of the fastest growing cities in the U.S. It's a really nice city, and South by Southwest obviously has a great music vibe. Like the whole streets, everyone is there for the music.
Yeah.
So it's very rare to get that feeling in other cities, and you get that in Austin.
And it's really down to earth because like the venue that we were playing, like Alanis Morissette was just playing right across us, like the same night.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's like it's extremely down to earth. Like she's just playing at a
bar,
decent bar, or like a venue size. But and it's crazy to me because
we kind of were like, it's impossible. It can't be her, right? It's got to be some kind of like cover band covering her music.
But it was actually her.
Yeah, and the place we played the previous night, it was headlined by Switchfoot. So it was all like some like big name bands that were playing, but they didn't make it feel like it was like this elitist kind of thing. It was they were all just playing music, and they weren't there for like the glamour, you know. They just wanted to play music. Cool. So it's a great vibe. It's a great place.
Wow. I just had an artist from Austin on my show about a month ago. He doesn't live there anymore, but he was in an 80s band, an 80s hard rock band called The Dangerous Toys. And they were from Austin. And it was kind of cool to, you know, like to hear the stories of like coming up through Austin, because Austin wasn't like a hotbed for 80s hard rock bands. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
So
it's gotta be like some different area. Definitely not Austin.
Yeah, no. And somehow they got discovered and they got signed by Columbia, but it was just cool to hear. He gave me the whole story of everything of how it all happened, because he was in another band called there's like this cult band called Watchtower from, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of them. They were like this, he was the lead singer in that band before he was in Dangerous Toys, and Watchtower was like well known in Texas, and like even like Metallica drew influence from these guys too. Like they were kind of like they have this cult status, which was kind of cool. So, and they were from Texas as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you, I don't know if it's on streaming or not. I've tried to look it up. I couldn't find it. So I'm not really sure the kind of the status on that, but it was cool. It's interesting. Like I said, I want to go to Texas one day, because just seems like Texas it's got its own type of thing, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've only been like one and a half, if you consider driving through Texas as going to Texas. But yeah, it's a great place. It's a great vibe. And it's completely, I feel like it's different than California.
Yeah.
It's more down to earth, I feel like. And it's just Austin in general was really nice. So, and there's so much to do in Texas besides music, but
yeah. Oh, I bet.
Definitely.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, guys, thank you so much. And hopefully, I wish you guys the best of luck. And I'm going to check out that other song, because I'm curious to hear it after hearing this one. And
it's got a crazy solo too. That's very interesting.
Oh, awesome. I can't wait to hear that. That's cool. All right. Well, you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Okay. Okay. Take care. Bye. Bye.